My ex's mom called me to fix her fence, then said, "Finish it, and I'll make it worth your while." The call came on a rainy Thursday afternoon, and for a second, I almost let it ring out. The name glowing on my screen made my stomach tighten. Linda Carter, my ex-girlfriend's mother. I hadn't spoken to her in almost 2 years, not since the day Emily packed the last box of her things, looked me in the eyes, and said, "Maybe we're just two people who wanted different futures." She married someone else 9 months later. I heard about it through mutual friends. I wished I hadn't. The phone kept ringing. Curiosity got the better of me. "Hello? Daniel?" Linda asked, sounding older than I remembered. "Yeah, I know this is unexpected. You could say that." She laughed softly, though it sounded nervous. "I need a favor." I leaned back in my truck seat. "If this is about Emily, it isn't." That surprised me enough to keep listening. "My backyard fence came down in last night's storm. I remembered you built the old garden gate yourself." I smiled despite myself. Back then I could fix almost anything. Emily used to joke that if civilization collapsed, she'd keep me around because I'd somehow build a house out of scrap wood. Those memories still hurt. I've called 3 contractors. Nobody can come for another week. "So you thought of me?" I did. There was an awkward silence. Then she added, "Finish it, and I'll make it worth your while." I laughed. "I charge by the hour now." "I know. I don't work for homemade cookies anymore. I wasn't planning to pay you with cookies." Her tone carried just enough mystery to make me wonder. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Linda lived in the same small town where I'd spent nearly my whole life. Nothing had changed. The grocery store still had the faded blue sign. The old diners still smelled like coffee and pancakes. The hardware store owner still waved when I drove by. Only one thing felt different. I no longer belonged in the neighborhood where Emily and I had dreamed about buying our first home. Pulling into Linda's driveway brought back more memories than I wanted. The white porch swing, the maple tree I'd planted for her late husband, the mailbox I'd repaired one winter after someone hit it with their truck. Every corner of that property carried a piece of my past. Linda stepped outside before I even shut off the engine. She looked tired. Gray streaks had spread through her brown hair. Her smile was warm, but quieter than I remembered. "You actually came." "I almost didn't. I wouldn't have blamed you." She handed me a mug of coffee. "I remembered how you take it." That caught me off guard. "2 sugars." She nodded. "Some things are hard to forget." We walked toward the backyard. Half the fence had collapsed under the weight of a fallen oak branch. Several posts had snapped clean in half. "That's worse than I expected," I admitted. "I know. I already ordered everything." "You came prepared." She smiled. "I was hoping you'd say yes." For the next few hours, I focused only on work. Measure, dig, level, concrete, cut, hammer. The rhythm kept my mind from wandering. Around lunchtime, Linda carried out sandwiches and lemonade. "You've barely taken a break." "I like finishing what I start." She looked at me thoughtfully. "You always did." I shrugged. "Some things don't change." She sighed. "No, but people do." We ate in silence for a minute. Finally, she spoke. "You never hated Emily, did you?" The question landed harder than I expected. I was angry, but not hateful. "No, you still loved her when she left." I stared at the unfinished fence. "I think part of me always will." Linda nodded slowly. "I was afraid of that." "Why?" "Because I think she made the biggest mistake of her life." I looked up. "I didn't expect you to say that." "I loved seeing you two together." "Then why didn't you stop her?" Her expression filled with regret. "I tried." That answer lingered between us. After lunch, I replaced another section of fencing. The afternoon sun broke through the clouds. Birds returned to the trees. Everything felt strangely peaceful. Until another car pulled into the driveway. I recognized it immediately. A silver SUV. Emily. My hands froze around the hammer. She stepped out slowly, equally surprised to see me. Daniel? Hi. She looked from me to the nearly finished fence. You came? My mom called. I didn't know. I figured. Linda appeared from the porch carrying another bottle of water. Oh, she looked between us. I guess this conversation was going to happen eventually. Emily crossed her arms awkwardly. I was only dropping off groceries. No rush, Linda said gently. Stay for a minute. Emily hesitated before walking into the backyard. Neither of us knew what to say. Finally, she broke the silence. The fence looks good. Thanks. You always were good with your hands. I smiled faintly. And you always notice details. For just a second, it felt like we were 25 again. She wore a wedding ring. I noticed it. She noticed me noticing. I'm sorry, she whispered. For what? For how everything ended. I took a deep breath. I forgave you a long time ago. You did? I had to. She looked down. I never forgave myself. Before I could answer, Linda quietly excused herself, leaving us alone beside the half-built fence. The breeze moved through the trees. Emily brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. I heard you've been doing well. I stay busy. Happier. I've been trying. She smiled sadly. I always knew you'd find your way. And you? Her smile faded. I'm still figuring that out. Something in her voice told me there was much more to the story than she was willing to say. Before I could ask, she glanced toward the house as if making sure her mother couldn't hear. Daniel, she swallowed hard. There's something you deserve to know. I rested my hammer against the fence post. What is it? She opened her mouth, but the sound of another car pulling into the driveway cut her off. Both of us turned toward the front yard. A tall man climbed out of a black pickup truck. The moment Emily saw him, all the color drained from her face. And I realized whatever she had been about to tell me was far bigger than a broken fence.